What's up, everybody out there? This is your boy Dev from War Room Sports. Like to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. See, I'm still getting my chow on here, but we'd like to welcome you to episode number 229. That's our fifth annual Thanksgiving potluck, turkey roast, whatever you want to call it. It's our fifth straight Thanksgiving episode. We talked about, of course, the NFL and the three games on the docket. Bears, Lions, Eagles, Cowboys, Seahawks, 49ers. We talked about the situation in Washington with RG3 being benched yet again. A little bit of NBA. OKC Thunder, are they in trouble? They're starting out 4-12. We'll see if they can make the playoffs. Other than that, just sit back, relax, take a listen to episode number 229. Don't eat too much. Happy Thanksgiving. War Room Sports.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, Peter King with the MMQB here, and you're listening to The War Room at the War Room Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the War Room. We got Dev,
Yo.
Kill, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the Hot Block Commander. Give it to you how you want it in a 1 or 2 hour show to keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Bold with the topics, sort of like some rebels. When it's game time, they like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerate to speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4th and 26th, so the war in Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys, diversified and educated.
What up, sports fans, and happy Turkey Day to everybody out there who celebrates. You are once again live in the War Room, brought to you by War Room Sports on that WRS Podcast Network for our 5th annual Thanksgiving potluck episode. I'm Devin McMillan, and my partner Jimmy the Blueprint Williams will be with us in just a moment. We got a lot to get to in the next 2 hours, but it is Thanksgiving. So most of it will be about football and the 3 games on today's NFL docket. So join us right now in the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/the War Room, or join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports so you can be a part of the conversations while you digest and get ready for dessert if you haven't already dug in. You can also call us directly when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech hotline. That number is 323-410-0012. But before we get started, you guys know we got to shout out all the great shows on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. You can listen to the network from our main site. That's warroomsports.com, or you can get there directly at WRSPN.com. You'll find shows such as The War Room. You'll find The Broad Street Line with Roy and Chris. After Further Review 2.0, a.k.a. The Sideline Pass with the Mayor. The Tissue and the Tape hip-hop show for all you hip-hop heads out there. With Phil and Savad, Sports Trap Radio with Brandon and Anthony, and a whole lot more. So you can check the listings also at fatsradio.com. That's PHATZ radio.com for airtimes for all your favorite WRSPN sports shows, including ours, The War Room, which airs over there on Sundays and Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Jim, what's going on, bro? You there?
Yo, I'm here. What's up, good brother? How you?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Just trying to digest this grub, watching my Philadelphia Eagles and their futility inside of the red zone.
Yo, Cody Parkey is the best player on their squad.
Yeah, he has to prove it week in and week out, because once they get inside the 20, man, it's like they're allergic to the end zone. If the Eagles are going to score, most of the time they got to score from outside the red zone to make
I agree.
it count.
I think it has something to do with the play calling, though, man. Because like the way their plays are called, they're not meant for like short yardage. They need a
Right.
straight short yardage coach.
Yeah, I mean, because when they get down there, it seems like Chip Kelly always gets cute with the play calling. He just doesn't, call it like he's called it all the way up the field. So you march up the field, make it look easy, and then you get to the red zone and you forget how to play football.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So how's Turkey Day been for you so far?
Oh man, listen, man. I know that once we finish this amazing broadcast that we do, I'm going to have to take me a mean grumpy, and I'll probably pass out after that because, you got to get busy on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, no doubt, because I'm waiting for dessert. Yeah,
Man, football. The great games. We'll talk about this in a little bit. Like, there's been some good games on today, and then the good food. So it is what it is, man.
Well, you know, you had the early game, and when you got a quarterback like Jay Cutler, and speaking of that world famous quote, Fred Purdue of College Football Extra will be with us in about 25 minutes to talk about actually to give us his rapid picks for this week's games in college football. But before we get into all that, Jim, why don't you let everybody know what happened this week while they were on the grind? Actually, they had a short grind week since everybody got off for Thanksgiving. But
Pretty much. And for those who don't know, While You Were on the Grind is brought to you by DirecTV. If you'd like a better TV experience than cable has to offer, including the NFL Sunday Ticket, go to our website, warroomsports.com. Click on that DirecTV logo and order a better TV experience at a discount War Room Sports sign-up rate. Listen, if you're a sports fan, you got to have DirecTV. Not only is the ticket still available, you have the NBA package. You know, if you watch baseball, you can watch all the baseball you want, college sports. So if you call yourself a sports fan, you got to have DirecTV.
yes,
Now, a little sad news. Kansas City Chiefs safety Eric Berry, he has a mass in his chest and it's believed to be lymphoma. Still going to do some more tests, but sad news to hear of someone, who's still in the league at this point. But you hear about the story?
yeah, man, it's crazy. They said, like you said, they found the mass and they put him on the season-ending non-football illness list. And as you said, he's down in Atlanta to do some more testing at Emory University. Other teams and coaches, in their press conferences during the week, they've been sending their well wishes and shout outs to him. I know the crews on Fox and CBS did the same as well, man. You never want to hear anything like that, but they're trying to take care of him. They think they found it, whatever it is, pretty early. Early signs, like we said, are pointing to lymphoma, but hopefully he can beat it. So shout out to Eric Berry, man.
Yeah,
Prayers
shout out to
are
Eric
with you.
Berry, man. And a shout out to all the fans we got. We have a huge, like any sports show, male population. Although 99% of our fans were high heels. And if they Atlanta, that counts as men. Anyway, man, with that being said, man, listen, I know that
Bunch of Verigels.
a lot of men don't like to go to the doctors, don't like to get checkups, man, but it's very important because, early detection can save your life. Specifically, my African-American brothers, we do not like going to the doctors whatsoever.
Yo, that's funny that you said that because I got a partner who was telling me a story just 2 days ago. I mean, he was a little younger then. Because of this story, he goes to the doctor whenever he scratches his finger now. Yeah, but he said he had a stomach ache for a couple of days.
He went the whole opposite way now.
No doubt. He said he had a stomach ache for a few days, didn't know what it was, and it got worse and worse. He said, and then at some point, it felt like somebody was just trying to rip out his insides. He goes to the emergency room and passes out. He wakes up, and the first thing the nurse says to him is, we thought you weren't going to make it for a minute there. How did they tell you that? But he ended up having, his appendix ruptured. His appendix ruptured, and he was just chilling, didn't want to go to the doctor. Wow.
Listen, I know, like some brothers I talk to, man. Like you talk to them, but like, when last time you had a checkup, went to the doctor? The people will tell you, 30 years ago, my mom took me.
I don't even got it. Yeah, I was a little kid. I ain't got no doctor.
I know some people listening live, and even those on the podcast will be like, y'all exaggerating, but I'm not. No. In our community, specifically the men, women take care of their business because they overall just smarter than us, but the men do not like going to the doctors whatsoever. So when I heard this story, I give my thoughts and prayers to Eric Berry, but that's the first thing I thought of, man. We gotta make sure we get ourselves checked out, man, because early detection is everything.
Yeah, no doubt.
Another crazy story. Another crazy story, man. Speaking of just life issues, man. Devin Still has been accused of failure to pay child support. We all have met his daughter Leah through the media. Some of them stories and videos people seem to send me all the time when I'm cutting onions for some reason. But touching story that we've seen with his daughter. And now they're saying he's not paying his child support. This is what his daughter's mother's saying. So I don't know that the truth is. I've heard stories on both sides that he has been taking care of responsibility. I read one that says he's not because he feels as though he takes care of her and he has her most of the time. So, I don't know what the truth is, but fact of the matter is, they're just going to try to bring his brother down one way or another.
Yeah. I mean, I hope this isn't true because not that it's. I wouldn't want to think like you're exploiting the whole thing. You're parading her around. She's all on TV. I would hope it would be doing all of that, but being a deadbeat dad at the same time. But actually, his ex girlfriend and daughter's mother, Channing Smith, she says I don't consider him a deadbeat dad. I know he loves and cares for his daughter, and he's there for her. I just need him to help me financially. So basically, she's saying she's doing all the financial things by herself. And I would assume, but this is just an assumption because he is dressing now for games. I would assume he makes more money than her. So even if you're there and you're spending your time, that's great because that's more than a lot of brothers do. If you make way more money than the mother, then you got to do your part financially as well. The crazy part is like she hired Gloria Allred as her attorney. Like she got the big dogs in.
What's funny about that right now Gloria Allred has made her name and she's known for doing what she does. But when I heard that, it kind of made me look at her sideways. I know that sounds crazy, but you hired Gloria Allred? Like, really? Like,
and she trying to take down the brother who's all in the news because he's taking care of his daughter who has cancer. I don't know, man. But
the part that I didn't get either was Gloria Allred was looking into whether it's a violation of, the NFL's policy in terms of conduct. So I'm like, so you want to get him suspended because he's not paying? If you get him suspended, how is he going to pay?
Yeah. That's crazy. It seemed like his. Like I said, I don't know the truth, so I can't just jump to his side automatically. But when it seems like they're going after his livelihood as well as the payments, then you have to look at that in a certain way. She says like the accusation is that he has refused. That's the language they use. He refused to pay child support for 4 months, which is driving her to the brink of homelessness. So obviously she doesn't make that much money. And obviously if she's kind of playing herself saying driving me to the brink of homelessness because it's showing you that she's not only complaining about money needed to take care of her daughter, she's trying to get money to take care of herself. Like his child support should have nothing to do with your housing situation at all. You know what I'm saying? That's money to take care of the little girl. It should have nothing to do with whether or not you can pay your rent. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I agree. And I told you, I read a story that was saying that that's why he refused to, because it was a situation where, and of course, none of us know the true story. I don't know what really happened. You don't know what really happened, but I read
TMZ, see what they're saying.
and it comes out, but it does, like from the articles I read, it does paint her in a certain light. I'm not saying it's the truth because I just don't know, but and that was the reason why he refused to pay is because he's like, look, he wants full custody. He already feels as though he has her more than she does, so he doesn't want to pay for her lifestyle, more or less.
No doubt. Well, before we move on, let me just read his quote on the matter because we got to let the brother speak up for himself. He says, my daughter's battle with cancer has been inspirational to many all over the world. When she gets older, I want her to be able to look back and read about her positive impact on the world, not about the private issues her parents were going through. I'm not going to retaliate against the mother of my daughter and the untruthful reports in the New York Daily News article by criticizing her character. I'm going to continue to allow the court system to handle this matter as it has been doing these past couple of months. So, he got at least a chance to put out a statement and speak his piece. He said he's not going to retaliate and slander his baby's mother. So and hopefully this plays out well for all parties because the little girl's the one who's the most important in all of this.
Yeah, and the social issues just don't stop. Here's the next story I want to bring up to you. Get your opinion on this. Former Skin Fred Smoot is accused of domestic assault. Now, he's no longer in the league or whatever, but NFL already has a problem. Now former players are, getting accused. What do you think about this?
I think
you should be ashamed of yourself. The way you carry yourself.
This is another thing, where you just don't jump to conclusions and just put that brother out there like that. But she's putting him out there because they're doing this socially, Twitter. She's screenshotting his text, and he had a text that says, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. So, it's just making him look guilty before he even has a chance to argue his case. The crazy part, Fred Smoot, even though, when he was in the league and we used to talk about him on this show, B. Austin in particular used to always talk about how, he really couldn't speak English that well. But the ironic part about that is he has some broadcasting jobs, and I think he was actually fired from one when these allegations came out. So Fred Smoot is the next athlete, or at this point, ex-athlete, to go through the system for misdemeanor domestic assault. You know, she posted photos, said he grabbed her during a fight in their Virginia home. I don't know exactly where he was supposed to have grabbed her, but come on. I mean, your man Ray Rice right now is the face of domestic violence. This is just something you got to stay away from, period. But right now, it's a hotbed issue. Like, how do you get in trouble for this? Like months after Ray Rice just got taken through the ringer for it.
Man, look, we all make mistakes when we act before we think.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be smart, man. Like
I did tonight at dinner, but go ahead.
Exactly. Like what I did to the mac and cheese, like, you know, I'm going to regret that. But, yo, Fred Smoot, come on, man. Like, you're still around the game, although you're not in the league. So
Right.
you got to be smarter.
Come on,
This is
another River Cruise situation. Come on, man.
Yeah. Come on.
Remember the boat party in Minnesota? That was Fred Smoot.
Definitely was. It definitely was. And the thing is, though, you know, we all as men know that women can get under your skin, because the thing about women is, and women are the most beautiful creatures that God has ever created. If you do believe in God and if you believe in evolution, they're the most beautiful things that come out of evolution. Whatever you believe in. But they're, like I mentioned earlier in the show, they're smarter than us, so they know how to say things that get under our skin. So keep that in mind, man, and just keep calm, yo. These dudes be tripping.
All right. Well,
Anyway.
like I gave the other side of the whole Devin Still situation. Smoot didn't actually release his own statement, but his lawyer said in a statement that the charges come from the quote unquote vindictive actions of a disgruntled ex-girlfriend, and they're asking for patience. Legal process plays out. So, you know, we keep it fair here in the War Room. Even if we give you a JoJo award, we still, you know, if you said something, we're gonna let you speak your piece. We're gonna get your side of the story out there, and then we'll see how it plays out. See if you deserve a giant JoJo for lying to us. But
shout out to whatever technological genius invented the screenshot, because that's like bringing more brothers down than the criminal justice system.
it is, and you know me, Jim. I just learned how to use it like 3 days ago because I actually called you like, yo, how the hell you do a screenshot? It's all now. Nobody better ever say nothing crooked to me because I'm screenshotting.
We got the file. Save the file, man. Yeah, it's
They got
crazy, man.
Neo performing at halftime at Jerry World. Jerry probably paid him out of his pocket too. Like he get $150.
Yo, man. Last story in the grind, man. Boston Red Sox take heat over an ill-timed tweet that happened after the whole topic and situation in Ferguson, when they basically were asking, like, you know, how's everybody doing today? And that kind of turned around, you know.
It turned virally wrong.
Yeah, virally wrong. I appreciate when companies, like, you know, try to engage and use social media in the right way, because it's actually, you know, some companies do it very well, and then some companies don't, like, take the temperature of what's going on in the country and things turn well. Give you an example of that. Like, IHOP is one of the funniest companies in terms of using social media. They do it very brilliantly. They try to remain hip and things like that. Bill Cosby, now we know what he went through. A couple of days, like maybe like a week and a half ago, one of his handlers put out a tweet from his account with a picture of Bill Cosby and was like, make your best Cosby meme. Now this is after all the stories broke. Why on God's green earth would you put that out there then? The stuff that resulted in that, yo, was some of the most vulgar, egregious, and vile things I've ever seen. The Red Sox, now in my opinion,
Did he get fired? Come on, why would you do that?
I don't know who did it, but whoever it was deserved to be fired. Like, the timing was just couldn't be any worse. Now, in terms of the Red Sox, you got to be smarter than that. The entire internet was on fire when the news came down, and for you to ask that question at that point, it's like, you got to be smarter than that. I mean, you know, I know you didn't mean any harm by it.
They asked the question minutes after it was announced that, you know, the officer in Ferguson was not going to be indicted. See, now this is the thing, like, because, you know, a lot of people just jump right out there. Oh, this is racist. This is that, this and that. I'm not going to jump out there like that because I don't know. You know, I can understand at times because we do this. I'm in charge of some of our, a lot of our social media. So sometimes you're so engrossed in, what you're doing, in their case, baseball, they were about to announce the signing of a few players. So that was just their opening tweet, supposedly. Um, you know, I'm constantly on social media, but I'm not really on social media. Like people would think that I know everything that's going on because I'm on there, but I'm not really on there. I'm just from a position where I'm putting up a status or I'm tweeting, but I'm not reading anything else. So sometimes, and it's not just sports, but it could be sports and anything else. And, you're engrossed in your own little world. And I'm not going to sit here and just start flying the racist flag because I don't know if they even knew what was going on right there. But, like Jimmy said earlier, maybe it's best that you kind of take the temperature, of the country, of the world, of social media when you're out there doing that. But I guess if they're telling the truth, a little, tweet like, how was your Monday? You might not even be thinking that there's any way you can offend anybody by asking how was their Monday. So it's like, I don't know how to take this because I don't want to be naive either and say that it's impossible because, some people are sinister like that. And they could have been watching the verdict right along with everybody else and then decided to tweet, how was your Monday? So I can't let them off the hook. But at the same time, I don't want to fly out there unknowingly and just, fly the racist flag because you don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, now here's the thing, like, and everybody who listens to the show tells me, like, I'm one of the most, like, racially sensitive people there are. I think everything in the world is racist. But being honest, I didn't even think about that when I first heard this. I just thought it was, like, bad business. I didn't think that it was racist in any way because I see companies who, like, in organizations and teams who try to engage and make mistakes all the time. I just think that they didn't take the temperature of what was going on. And the thing about it is, what was going on in Ferguson was already trending. The whole world was talking about it one way or the other. So it was just like bad timing. It's sort of like
Jim, to tell you the truth, I was at the time, I kind of forgot that the announcement was coming myself. I was watching Monday Night Football, just like B. Austin said all the white people were doing on his timeline. So I'm guilty. I was watching Monday Night Football. So if you look at my timeline, I might have had a couple of tweets, at that time about Monday Night Football. People probably like, isn't that?
I respect that, but it's another thing too, though. Like we are known for speaking our minds and candid. We have a certain position within sports media. We're like quote unquote like underground, meaning that we can be held accountable on a small level, but not the same level as say the Boston Red Sox or the New England Patriots. You know what I mean? So it's like. You have to. If we get on athletes for making like decisions without thinking first, the same has to be applied to organizations. Like their words hold more weight. So therefore, everything was trending on every major website. Now they could have been in a little box, like you say. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they were. And shout out to them for taking it right down because they did act, accordingly and take it down. But in today, these days, man, you can't delete nothing. Once it's up there, it's up there because people save the files.
Screenshots.
Shout out to the
Screenshots.
Yeah, I'm saying, but like when you're in a position, and it's funny because I read about this all the time. Like when I read like financial journals, and they always talk about how certain guys have to watch what they say because their one word can like affect the entire economy of our country. And it's like not that the Red Sox has that kind of power, but you're the Boston Red Sox. For all intents and purposes, you're the second biggest franchise in baseball, second to only the Yankees probably. So you have a lot of people watching what you do. And it was just ill time. Like whether you feel
got throw the Dodgers in there. Well,
okay,
money.
Yeah, okay. So the question comes now. We got to have a versus, right? Who's the second biggest franchise in baseball, Dodgers or Red Sox? But anyway.
Well, people just gonna go up and look up their worth, and they're not gonna care about anything else. So.
But anyway, with that being said, though, man, it's like you just have to be more responsible for the kind of things you tweet out there because, especially we live in a culture of gotcha. People don't even care. Most people don't even care about what they said. They just want to say, like, we got you. You know what I mean? Like, they don't even care whether they were being racist. They just want to say, gotcha.
You're right about the gotcha because the first thing people do in that situation is to take a screenshot because once the fire comes, they're going to take it down anyway. So, I don't know. I don't think there was just bad timing with them, but the luck that the Patriots had, if we're going to call it luck, because they said it was an automatic tweet or retweet, when they got their millionth follower or something like that last week, and the follower had a racist name and they retweeted it.
Yeah,
that was crazy, because it's a little
that
harder to defend that one, because you're thinking somebody's sitting there pushing the retweet button.
These companies, you want to engage and get involved in social media. You can't have Autobots, man. You got to actually. Yeah. They try to save money by not hiring somebody. Have like auto retweets, and that's what happens when you do that. You still can't get rid of the human touch.
All right, so Boston Celtics and the Patriots, especially the I said the Celtics, the Boston Red Sox, for not having the temperature of the country right there on your thermostat.
You should be ashamed of yourself, the way you carry yourself.
No doubt, those are the grind topics this week. Dev, who's having a birthday?
My birthday, yay!
Birthdays are brought to you by Digital Extreme Technologies. Does your business need a custom website? Well, for dynamic, professional, and most of all, affordable custom website solutions, you need Digital Extreme Technologies. No need to break the bank for an effective online presence. Top quality, results-driven websites at incredibly affordable prices. Financing options are available, so you can put something on it if you want, just like you can at Kmart tomorrow for Black Friday. But visit digitalextremetech.com or call 267-205-4203. And for discounted rates, be sure to tell them War Room Sports sent you.
My birthday, yay!
All right, celebrating a birthday today on Turkey Day is one of our beloved Philadelphia Phillies, Jimmy Rollins, turns 36 today. It's funny that he's 36, though, because there's certain players, you look at them as old guys, but it's like, wow, we're getting old when the guys we think that are old in sports, like they're younger than we are. So it's funny, because all our lives we're just used to people, being old, even though sports old is not old. But shout out to Jimmy Rollins. Martin Gramatica. It's not though. Like what's the name say when he retired? Derek Jeter. He was like, this was like the day after he retired. He was like, yesterday I was the old guy. Now I'm like the young guy out here. Got to find something to do. Dude is 40. He's still got a lot of life to live. Martin Gramatica turns 39 today. No matter what he did in his NFL kicking career, all we'll remember him for is celebrating and tearing his knee up during his celebration. So shout out to him. Nick Van Exel, Nick the Quick, one of your former Los Angeles Lakers. He turns 43 today. Larry Allen, former Cowboy. I'm pretty sure he's in the building watching his Cowboys play now. He turns 43.
Larry Allen. I think I keep out of here.
We don't have that. We need a Pat Summerall soundbite. Ken O'Brien, former quarterback of the New York Jets. He turns 54. The Jets could use Ken O'Brien right now. Mike Scioscia, baseball player. Shout out to him. He turns 56. We're going to give an RIP, rest in peace, shout out to the great former Los Angeles Lakers announcer Chick Hearn. He was born November 27th, 1916, and he passed on August 5th, 2002. And that's crazy to me because, with the league pass, I used to stay up late and watch a lot of Lakers games. It seems to me like Chick Hearn has been dead for like 4 or 5 years, but in essence, he's been dead for like 12 years. It's crazy.
Yeah. So Chick Hearn, he invented measuring the shots. He'd be like, that's a 22-footer. Like, I don't know how he did measurements up in the booth, but that's what he did.
Chick Hearn. The Lakers had to have a simulcast. And if anybody out there is from the West Coast that could tell us this, it had to be a simulcast because he called TV games so detailed, like you were listening, like he was trying to explain it to you on radio. He's saying so much. I'm like, Chick, I'm watching it. You don't have to say that much to be a play-by-play. But they had to have a simulcast. I'm convinced of it. They had to have a simulcast.
That was just sick. My man be like 22-footer. Like, how the hell you know that's 22 feet from there to the back?
I gotta let you know, man. I'm like, I'm watching. He shot it from the foul line. Like, what are you doing? But so we like to give an RIP shout out to Chick Hearn, and we like to give a nice big War Room salute to all of these folks on their birthday and a happy Thanksgiving. if you celebrate.
My
So
birthday. Yay!
Yes, sir.
before we move on, and we're waiting to get Fred Purdue of College Football Extra on the line to talk a little college football. You guys know the drill. You can check out our website, warroomsports.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for the War Report. That's our weekly newsletter. Click on the Contact Us tab to send a message about our company, our show, or to inquire about sponsorship and advertising opportunities or any other business that you may have at War Room Sports. For general inquiries, email us at info@warroomsports.com. While you're browsing the site, don't be lazy. Click on the memorabilia tab. Support the brothers. Buy some War Room Sports merchandise. Click the blog tab. Make sure you read our latest sports articles in the All's Fair in Sports and More blog. Then you can click the respective icons and tabs to like our Facebook page, to follow us on Twitter, to subscribe to our iTunes podcast, watch our videos at warroomsportstv.com, listen to our network at WRSPN.com, and to download our free War Room Sports mobile app to get everything I just mentioned right there on your device. Join the JW Philly Realty chat room right now during the show at blogtalkradio.com/the War Room. To enter the chat room, just sign up for a free profile on Blog Talk Radio if you don't already have one. But if you don't even want one, you can sign in through your Facebook or Twitter accounts as well. While you're at it, click follow so you can get updates and reminders about the show, such as, yes, the show still goes on Thanksgiving. We will be broadcasting. The show will go on this year during Christmas because Christmas falls on a Thursday. We don't stop the show for anything. So if you want to call in and speak with us right now, the Digital Extreme Technologies hotline will be open about a minute before Fred Purdue comes on, and then right after he's on. That number is 323-410-0012. Just press 1 when prompted. If you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. Yeah, so we're going to get into some hot topics, until we get into our college football talk with Fred Purdue from collegefootballextra.com. But before we do that, how about a little station identification?
Hi, Peter King with the MMQB here, and you're listening to The War Room at the War Room Sports Podcast Network.
All right, Jim, hot topics are brought to you by...
If your schedule is too hectic to read as much as you want, we got something for you. Audible. Listen, go to audibletrial.com/warroomsports. You can have someone read to you. I mean, take it back to when you was a little baby and your mom read to you. You know what I'm saying? But, it's a lot of great books out there. Right now I'm finishing up this book on Michael Jackson called Michael Jackson, Inc., about his different business moves. And some of the things that he did, you would have no clue that Michael Jackson was behind from a business standpoint, because all we know him as the weirdo who was accused of BBR, amazing albums. Anyway, audibletrial.com/warroomsports.
Oh man, this dude Shady just fumbled, man. Come on, Shady.
What's wrong with Shady this year? Like, I know the offensive line has been banged up. I know that, but even when he's in an open field, I don't know, I don't know, man.
Yeah, Dance Revolution, man. Dance Revolution. But before we do, oh man, he gave it up. But before we do have Fred Purdue on the line to talk a little bit. He's going to give us his picks on all the big games this week. It's rivalry week. So, Fred, what's going on, bro? You're in the War Room.
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing? Y'all having a good, happy Thanksgiving?
Yeah, man. I'm digesting as we speak, man. What about yourself?
Hey, Fred,
good,
man.
The food has been good, man.
Fred, I just want to say something to you, man. Pause on this, but I was thinking about you earlier as I was watching this Bears game, because I was like, yo, when you have a quarterback like Jay Cutler.
When you have a quarterback like Jay Cutler, you pull off an early scare, and then
Yo, funny thing about that is he's my fantasy quarterback now, because I made some gutsy trades to get deep everywhere else before the playoffs. He's rolling at first. I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? He slows down. He's doing nothing. Then that final drive when he can pad the stats. You get a little touchdown. We'll be in there. Nice little game for the week. He gets the penalty and they give him one extra play. And instead of throwing a touchdown on this extra play, this dude throws a pick and loses me points right before the end of the game.
Yo, what's crazy is Fred, didn't you pick him to go to the bowl or something like that?
No, I picked him to win the division. About that.
That was me, Jim, like last year.
Yeah, last year.
Although
That was me
I
last year.
did get a little bit of a scare because I made a nice little bet that said I put a little money down on a couple parlay bets, and I said the Lions was going to cover the spread, and I said, man, these Lions gonna do me like this right now, and they pulled it out
came
for
back,
me, so I'm a little
smacked him.
Yeah,
All right,
shout
so
out to my homie Carl real quick. I just want to shout him out because we made a bet when Jay Cutler was drafted by the Broncos. We actually wrote it down, and I still have the paper. We wrote it down. We bet $100 that Jay Cutler would never win a bowl. So I'm getting closer to winning that $100.
Looking
You know,
good.
year by year.
He wrote it down and took a picture of it, didn't you, Jimmy?
No, we did. We wrote it down. The funny thing is, I made that bet knowing my team drafted him. How bad is that? 'Cause I never liked him.
But look, before his contract is up, he's gonna get cut, and he's gonna get picked up as the backup for the Green Bay Packers. And
I know. I'm gonna lose the bet. I'm
Oh.
gonna bet on some nonsense. Yeah, I'm
He's not
gonna
gonna have
lose that bet
anything
on.
to do with it, but get him.
Yeah.
Yeah, birds. All right, so look, man, let's get into these games of the week. Let's get your picks on, man. It's a ton of games happening this week in college football. Let's start off with TCU versus Texas.
Guys, you got to give me Texas. I'm sorry, TCU, Texas Christian. Texas is just not in a good way right now. Maybe in the future once they get a real quarterback, but I just can't take Texas right now. Give me TCU and that air raid offense that's been putting up a lot of points.
All right, LSU versus Texas A&M.
LSU is not a great team, but they still have Les Miles on the sideline as well as John Tavis in the booth running that defense. Kevin Sumlin, boy, the days of no Johnny Manziel are really going to be rough. Kyle Allen isn't the guy. Kenny Hill had his little cup of coffee as a starter. LSU is going to just run these guys into the ground.
When you got a coach like Les Miles. All right, Arizona versus Arizona State.
That was a tough one, guys. I really got to go with Arizona State. The offense is the offense can bring the team back in a hurry. I really think that Arizona is going to finally meet their match in a high-powered air raid offense.
All right, then we got Arkansas versus Missouri.
This is a tough one. If Missouri wins this game, they go back to the SEC title for the second straight year out of 3 years since they've been in the SEC. Arkansas they've been beating some teams they haven't really supposed to be beating, but with a chance to go back to the SEC title game for the second out of 3 years, when they were expected to be the worst team in the SEC, I got to go with Missouri.
Matt, do I even have to ask you about Michigan and Ohio State?
No, you don't have to ask me. Ohio State, the tree nuts are gonna win.
South Carolina versus Clemson.
Clemson, South Carolina's in a bad way. They need to get one more win to make a real bowl game. Spurrier doesn't have Jadeveon Clowney to back him to just win one for him anymore. No more big hits for fumbles in bowl games. So I expect a nice visor hitting the ground and Dabo Sweeney going off at the end about how good they are when they aren't really all that great.
All right, we got the battle for the state of Georgia. Georgia Tech versus Georgia.
I got to
Georgia?
before I get into that one, I got to give a big shout out. I got a cousin that plays for Georgia Tech, Aaron Joe, on the offensive line as well as a linebacker that I remember from his high school days down this way. Quayshawn Neely, big shout out to them. But boys, y'all not winning this one. Georgia wins this one big.
All right, let's go Ole Miss versus Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. Bo Wallace, a.k.a. Jay Cutler Jr. We're going to get bad Bo this time. Dak Prescott's going to look like Tebow from a long time ago, and they're going to just run all over these guys.
So it's going to be bad Jay against good Tim.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, then we got USC versus Notre Dame. Big rivalry.
Yeah, USC, and I don't really like this one, but USC is I think USC has the right coach. They just have to get through these lean times without depth. If every superstar quarterback again, it's going to be really in the Pac-12. And Everett Wilson is a turnover machine, a la Eli Manning. He's an automatic interception machine, and it's just not going to get any better at all. Give me USC.
All right, and then we got your boys, the versus Pitt. Who you got in that one?
In the words of Mike Singletary, I'll say this about that. Miami is, I really want to say they're going to win this game, but John Connor, the running back from Pitt, who's the number one rusher in the country per game, averaging over 130 yards per game, he is just going to run through this defense. And if they get a bit of a quarterback, Miami loses this game. I hate to really say that. And I did predict Miami would go 7-5 this year. I got called crazy for it. Miami has a lot of pieces until they get rid of that silly coach that they have down there. Al Golden, it's going to be some lean time. So going forward, Pitt wins this game, but really close. And Duke Johnson probably will end up being the all-time leading rusher at Miami, passing Otis Anderson to be the all-time leading rusher with over 3,000 yards.
All right, then we got the Iron Bowl. Auburn at Bama. You know, this game has had its moments as of late. So who you got in this one?
I have 2 words for you. No, never mind. Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
Roll damn Tide. So, last thing before we get you out of here, what do you think about the top 4 right now?
I like what I see. I did make a comment on Twitter earlier in the week, actually on Tuesday, after those rankings came out, that I kind of missed the BCS a little bit. There's no suspense right now. It was supposed to be very suspenseful now, but the BCS, because you never knew who would be at any spot at any given point in time. But right now, it just seems like everybody's going to knock themselves out, whether it's the SEC, the ACC. Florida State's getting a little bit of their own medicine from way back in '93, where they lost the game and they weren't supposed to actually be there because they had 2 undefeated teams that they jumped even when they had a loss. And now they're getting a little bit of their own medicine as teams with losses are jumping them, and I'm very happy about it. I just can't. I'm just not a fan of this classless team that's in Tallahassee. The Tallahassee football team, just like the Washington Redskins team. They removed the Redskin name. They're the Florida State team at this point.
that team in Tallahassee. All right, Fred, we appreciate you every week, man. Everybody check Fred out at collegefootballextra.com. You can also check him out on Twitter at FPurdueSports. We will talk to you next week, good brother. Oh, you can also check him out on Field Vision. If you go to War Room Sports TV.
Fred, I have a question. I just want to ask something, because in our chat room, they said that Fred sounded like he's full of stuffing, man. How was your Thanksgiving, man? You sound like you full of tryptophan right now.
He tryptophan up, yo. He tryptophan up.
All I got to say is, if it wasn't any football games on, I would be going straight home and hitting a nice bed in my house. All
right, man. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, man.
You guys too, man. It was good coming on tonight.
All right, man.
Take it easy.
Happy Thanksgiving. All right. That's Fred Purdue, everybody, of collegefootballextra.com. You can catch him on Twitter, again, at FPurdueSports. All right, so, we're in the midst of hot topics, but, we'd be remiss if we didn't say a few things about the hottest topic of the week. And I'm sure B. Austin is kicking himself because he's not going to have the chance to things off his chest on air. But if he was here to get things off his chest, this segment might last for the rest of the show. Jim, we talked about it a little bit earlier. We mentioned it when we were talking about the Red Sox, but this thing in Ferguson, as we know, the decision came down that Officer Darren Wilson is not going to be charged. He's not going to have to go through trial. It's like, how does that happen? I mean, we know because we live in this country and we've seen certain things go down. We've seen things like this before, but what are your thoughts on the whole thing? I see you, dancing. No dancing. Touchdown birds. All right, our bad. We're watching live football right now.
I know. We apologize. Not to say, we could talk about the topic at hand.
We might burst out at any second.
And by the way, Shady is my fantasy running back, so I'm like, But anyway, with that being said, right, this situation in Ferguson, I have so many thoughts. I've been called like I mentioned earlier that I'm racially sensitive and all those things, but I'm not shocked, and I'm not shocked for several reasons. Because one, I know the value put on Black life by not only America as a whole, but even within our own community. But another thing is when you charge a cop, right, for doing things in while he's on duty, that opens up a whole nother can of worms that I don't think they want to open up in a lot of different places. Now, in terms of the whole racial aspect of it, this bothers me for a lot of reasons. Even if what Officer Wilson said was true, this young man did not deserve to lose his life. Even if that was him on camera taking cigars, I mean, that doesn't mean you should lose your life. I've seen people, and I've kind of refrained from talking on people's statuses and saying things to people because it's like it's no sense. Some people say things just to think opposite. Some people think they're being provocative or profound, and sometimes it's just pure ignorance. But to say that he was a thug and he didn't deserve to lose his life and get shot 12, he emptied a clip in my man. Like, yo, you emptied a clip in this young man and then let him sit there for hours as if he was like roadkill.
Hard to call self-defense when you empty the clip.
Yo, how is self-defense emptying a clip? And then here's another thing. Like, I see people keep making this false equivalency talking about, what about black-on-black crime? Nobody's going to respect us until we respect. Listen, I'm also upset about black-on-black crime. But one thing has, it's like, you can't have that kind of myopic thinking and say that, okay, because this happens, then this shouldn't happen. Listen, black-on-black crime is a reality, but so is white-on-white crime. 90% of black people who are murdered by other blacks, but 85% of white people who are murdered by other whites. Yet you never hear the white-on-white crime. Homicide is one of the it's like the top 3 killer amongst white males as well, but you never hear white-on-white crime. You never hear Asian-on-Asian crime. You never hear Vietnamese-on-Vietnamese crime. But the fact of the matter is, one thing people don't want to talk about, this country is still segregated for the most part. And people commit crimes against those they are around. So if you look at any sort of community, that's who they commit crimes against. But that has nothing to do with this young man losing his life, over cigars. Now, there were so many things wrong with that, and to see that he won't even. Now, I thought that he may get indicted. I didn't think he would get found guilty, but I thought he would at least get indicted.
No, you're right along where my thinking was. I was like, okay, he would most likely have been acquitted in the first place, but it's like they're just throwing it up in their face, in people's faces. Like, look, man, we're not even going to waste the taxpayers' time and money because we know we're not sending this man to jail, so let's just not even charge him. It's kind of like, how does that happen? It's crazy. It's crazy. But my bad, go ahead.
Yeah, man. It's just so many thoughts, man. Like I said, salute to my brother B. Austin because he snapped, and rightfully so. And we had a conversation because he snapped on me a little bit, but I kind of but the thing about it is, what me and him were discussing when it happened is like he was like, man, I got a son, you don't have no son. But the thing is, that's literally the first thing I thought of. I have loved ones, I have a nephew, but I thought about you brothers having sons, so it wasn't necessarily me having a son, but what about my friends who have sons? How do you explain this? I have 2 nephews. I have a nephew that's 15 and I have a nephew that's 9. And they ask questions. So how do you even explain this to them? You know what I mean? So to me, that's a whole nother issue because outside of the racial issue, just we're humans first. We don't love each other, period. Outside of the racial aspect, we don't love each other, period. And to see some of the vitriol that went back and forth amongst people of all races and colors after this was it's sad. So I kind of get upset when these kind of things happen. For one, because I am racially sensitive, because I told you I think everything's racist. But shout out to Ivy Leaf. I was raised that way. But then to see the way people talk to each other is just yo.
Not on Mr. and Mrs. Green.
Yeah, it's very sad, man. To see people snap on each other like that, man, it gets nasty.
Yes. The situation. Then you got to go with. You definitely got to talk about the reaction of the people. There's always a few out there. And a few, and when the numbers get like this, a few is going to look like it's way more than what it really is. The media's focus is on catching us at our very worst. Looting, stuff like that. I never understood it. We're upset about something, so let's go destroy our own community. And then, of course, they had the cameras right there at the liquor store. People in there looting the liquor store, looting the beauty shop. I'm pretty sure that's not the only thing that was happening in town, but the media is going to focus on that. They're going to catch us out there at our worst and catch the few people who probably really don't care and they're just, you know, using this as an opportunity. But those are the people who are going to get the focus, and it is what it is. It's not like we don't know that about the media. Interception, Eagles, let's go. I'm sorry, but it's
but you're right. You're right. And when I saw that, I was like, but you know, it's like when they tell the story, they're going to show all these things, but it's like these people are angry, and a lot of them don't know no better, so they just snap. It's sort of like they act without thinking, because when you really start to think about it, you are destroying your own community. Kerry Williams again. I know B. Austin is somewhere flipping out right now.
Messed up interception.
But it's like you showing people at their worst. They're upset. They're angry. They're not thinking it through. The only way to affect change in this country, and me and you were talking about this, I said the only way to affect change, regardless of whatever change you want it to be, is through commerce and money. I mean, so if you want to affect change, you do it. Now, I know people were talking about this whole, like, blackout, not Black Friday. And shout out to Rahil from Urban Cuts, because I saw they made Forbes. They made the Forbes magazine. I was on Forbes' website and saw them cited on there. And she's been on our show before. She's a friend of the show, but they were cited because they started the hashtag, like, you know, Black Friday, whatever the hashtag was. But and the fact of the matter is that won't happen, because, you know, we have so much economic power. At the same time, I have none. So when you go out there and you destroy your own black businesses, your own community, that's kind of sad. But at the same time, I empathize with them because they're just angry. They've been dealing with this thing for a long time, and so they understand it. I mean, we grew up as black men, so we know what it's like to be prejudged. You know what I mean? We know what it's like for people to say and do things which are considered racist. And, you know,
you're right about black people not having any economic power. The fact of the matter is that we have the power, but we don't use the power. We're the biggest consumers, and that's not how you use your power. Just consume. And
even if you do consume, if you consumed at a higher rate amongst your own people,
Cowboys,
but now we get into the psychology, because we've been bred to think that if it comes from a black business, it's not as good as it comes from a white business. Now, we've been bred to think that way. I got a stat for you real quick, Dev, and this is, you know, we always have our stats of the week. We didn't get to our sports stat of the week, but do you realize
I didn't have one, so this is it right here. Stat of the week.
Here's our stat of the week for all my brothers out there. And we know, and a lot of our sponsors, as well as a lot of our listeners, are entrepreneurs and black-owned business people. So black people who own their own business. Now, listen to this stat. In 1776, 98% of the black population worked for, a Caucasian company. Do you know what that number is in 2014?
What is it?
97%.
Dang.
Yo, I'm talking 1776. And so from 1776 to 2014, we got 1% difference.
I'm like speechless. Like, damn.
Yeah, we made 1%, and like I said, a lot of it is psychological. Because a lot of it is psychological. I mean, you know, and this is like steering away from what happened down there, but it's all related nonetheless. So I just want to send a shout out to the people in Ferguson, man. Like, you know, we need to come together as people. You know, because I know it was even a lot of white people out there fighting as well. So it's about race, but then part of it is about, like, yo, we're humans at the end of the day, man. We need to, like, you know, learn to work together and live together, man.
Yeah, so it's a shame what's going on there, man. People definitely don't. You got to find a better way to move. You know, looting and violence and all that kind of stuff isn't the way. I saw somebody. I don't even know who to shout out for this, but it was somebody. One of my friends was talking on social media the other day, because they were talking about, you know, peaceful protests and stuff like that. He's like, well, no protest is peaceful. I mean, it has to disturb the peace in order to be effective. But there's a difference between, you know, unpeaceful and violence, and, you know, just doing stupid stuff like that. So, you know, take heed to that kind of stuff. Yeah, disturb the peace, but you don't have to be violent. You don't have to be, you know, looting and breaking and stealing and stuff like that, because you're not going to get anything done. There's a better way to move.
It's about playing chess, not checkers, right? And at the end of the day, they don't care whether you're violent or non-violent. You know, I mean, MLK and Malcolm X both saw the same fate. They both got murked. But the fact of the matter is, like, it's about, you know, being smart and playing chess, not checkers. Even if you look back to the civil rights movement, people want to point to the I Have a Dream speech, and they want to point to all the marches. No change really happened until they started the bus boycott. You start messing with their money, Oh, you get all kinds of laws changed. You get all kinds of things because now we're not catching the bus. We're rallying together to get to work and do things, and we almost took down an entire bus system. That's when change happened. And to go back and read your history, you'll see that it was through economics. It always has been, always will be.
And not really a Black Friday. I don't think it's ever going to be a way to shut that down. And the funny thing is, I must be a hero to my people because I never shopped on Black Friday. I mean, mostly due to the fact that one, I never have any money, and two, I don't do lines and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a hero in the Black community, basically.
I'm just not built like that, yo. I'm not built to be out there. Like some people
I
tell
get
me
it.
it's not about.
Yeah.
It's not about the actual items. It's about the camaraderie and being out there. I like, yo, I'm cool. Like I don't do the whole stand in line for the new phone thing. Like I cop new phones all the time. Everybody know I'm a tech junkie, but I don't do the line thing. I just can't.
Yeah. Tell them I said comrade D's. I don't do that, and it's cold. It's cold too. That's the third thing. I don't do the cold for no reason.
Yo, I do. Yo, it's cold. I sit in line for 6 hours trying to get a flat screen. I'm like, yo,
I gotta stand in the line, Jim, for 6 hours when it's 20 degrees, so I can give you money. It's not like if I'm standing in line for a couple of dollars, that might be different. If you're gonna give me what it costs for me to buy a TV, then that's different. But I'm not standing in line to give you $600. That's stupid.
Besides the fact that, right, these days I'm an Amazon Prime member, so I go out of my way to try to use it to make sure I'm getting my money's worth. Like, I go out of my way to find things on Amazon to avoid going to the store, to the point where I'm buying stuff like groceries and food and stuff.
Oh, interception. Kerry Williams, all right, but yeah, no doubt, because I'm a Prime member as well, and besides the fact that we get the free videos on our Prime Video now, even if you took that out of the equation, I get enough stuff shipped to my house to double, what I pay. So it's all good. I don't shop in stores anymore.
I'm ordering big stuff just to see if they're going to change my plan or something. Like I'm gonna order a whole treadmill, something that's heavy as hell. Let's see you ship this for free.
Yo, free 2-day on a treadmill. Order a truck.
Yo, treadmill be heavy as hell, yo.
Just order a tractor trailer and get free 2-day shipping on a tractor trailer.
Free 2-day shipping, yo. Straight up.
All right, man. Yo, I read an article the other day. It was actually outsports.com. Our homie Sid Ziegler didn't write it. I think it was his partner. But it seems as if Michael Sam may be having some regrets about coming out before the draft. Now, he implicitly says that he doesn't have regrets, but the language in this article is very ambiguous. And it seems like, he's saying if he had it his way, he never would have done it the way he did. And basically he was saying, he told his team, but it really did start to get out and people actually started to ask him about it. And we said that at the time because everybody was kind of hailing him as this hero. And we were saying, no, the rumblings had started and he made the announcement basically to get in front of the story so he could control the narrative and control the whole situation. But I think he's starting to have regrets and thinking that it had something to do with, his draft stock dropping down to a 7th rounder. He's having trouble making teams and everything right now. So what do you think about that situation in hindsight? Do you think it was smart for him or is he just not that good of a football player? And
I honestly,
this is going to start to be his cop-out.
I agree with him, but the thing is, he's so much more popular, and he's going to have more opportunities based upon this. I forgot what magazine it was. He was like the Sportsman of the Year or something in one of these magazines.
Well, this is a GQ interview, so it might have been that. The GQ interview.
Maybe it's GQ Man of the Year. I think maybe it's GQ's in the cover of the magazine, GQ Man of the Year, and then he was in another magazine as one of people's most interesting people of the year. So he's going to get his, he's going to go down in history. Let's put it that way. As of right now, he may be a little salty, and I agree. But I agree that it had a negative impact. Before that story came out, he was projected to be a first-round draft pick. Now, people say, well, he stunk it up at the combine and all this, and that may be true, too. But I know when you look at most boards before then, he was projected. He was the SEC. Yo, the SEC is like pro football itself. He was the co-defensive player of the year. So my thing is, he was projected to be a first-round draft pick. His stock dropped tremendously. And whether it's homophobia or not, because I don't even know if it's that. I think it's the distraction piece. I think that may be a bigger piece than even people still being homophobic, which we know does exist. But the fact of the matter is, this guy gets a lot of attention, a lot of media attention, whether he should or not, just based upon his position. But when the story is told years from now, and they have a movie made about this guy's life, he's gonna be forever remembered, not even being that significant of a player, just based upon that. So it has its pluses. It has its goods and its bads. But as of right now, I think the guy loves the game of football and he's not able to play. So right now, he's like, yo, I shouldn't have did it. But long term, he's going to be remembered.
Yeah, like I said, it was a lot of double speak in the quotes. He was saying he was comfortable with who he was. He said maybe if he had it to do over, he wouldn't have done it the way he did. He was saying, had somebody asked me, I wouldn't have denied it because I am comfortable with who I am. But he thinks it may have had an effect on everything in the long run. It was crazy. He said maybe the NFL wasn't ready for a gay player after all. And we had those debates when this whole story was brewing of whether or not we thought that was the case. And we did talk about that a lot. And we were saying, a lot of people are going to say what they're supposed to say on the outside. But, what are these guys really thinking when they're in the locker room? And, you got to be in there with them. There's a lot of homophobic people out there, he tackling people, you're on the pile. It's just a lot going on. So I didn't think at the time that the NFL was ready. The league, financially, yes, but the players within the league, I didn't think they were ready. So we'll see how this plays out, because this might become his new narrative, sounding like he's having regret, but denying that he has any regrets. So we'll see how that plays out. But Jim, let's talk a little football, man, since we are in the midst of this football game while we're on the air, and it's getting chippy. They're out there rumbling. I think the Cowboys are upset right now, but it's all good. We'll take that.
Came to play today, man.
You mad? Cowboys mad.
No doubt. Let's talk football. Want to tell people how to get in touch with us first?
Yes, sir. You guys know the drill. You can check out our website, warroomsports.com. Call in and speak to us about any of today's topics, and we see a few people on the line. Don't worry, we'll get to you in a sec. You can dial the Digital Extreme Tech hotline, 323-410-0012. Just press 1 when prompted. If you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk.
Yes, sir. All right, NFL rap. You want to jump into that or what?
Yeah, let's talk some NFL. NFL Rap is brought to you by Stitcher Smart Radio. You can now hear our show, The War Room, on Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher allows you to listen to your favorite shows directly from your computer, your iPhone, your Android phone, your BlackBerry, or your Palm phones. I'm not even going to comment on if you have a BlackBerry or a Palm phone in 2014. The latest episode is always available for you. No syncing needed, no memory or storage wasted. Downloading is so easy. Click on the Stitcher logo on our website and listen, or you can download to your mobile phone directly from that page. Before you do, enter the promo code The War Room, all one word. That will enter you into a contest to win huge cash prizes. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. All right, today is Turkey Day, and you know what happens on Turkey Day? Football. We had the early game, Bears versus Lions. Short recap. Did you get a chance to watch this game?
Yeah, I did. It was interesting to watch because, of course, fantasy football will make you watch any football game. You can watch like so many random teams. This was actually, two high-powered offenses, and I do have Alshon Jeffrey, so I was, interested in the game.
He got his.
Yeah, he got his. But Jay Cutler is Jay Cutler. And Matt Stafford, at times, Matt Stafford looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the league at times. Then other times you're like, yo, is that the same Matt Stafford I just saw last week? He got a little bit of that Eli Manning.
Yeah, he got a little bit of that in him as well. A little inconsistency bug happening.
But at times, at times he's sharp, yo.
Yeah. When Chicago scored the first 2 touchdowns, and I believe they were up 14-3 when the game started. And I'm not a Detroit Lions fan or anything like that. Well, my mother-in-law is from Detroit. She's a Lions fan, and she is at my house this week. But I like I said, I'm not a fan, But if I were a fan, like I felt nothing. I didn't feel. I'm like, okay, they jumped out early, but I don't think this game is over. I think the Bears will find a way to slow down because usually the Bears are basically a team that's a tale of two halves, and usually they're getting off to a slow start and trying to play catch up. This one, they got off to a fast start, and just as you would suspect and expect, they slowed down and really couldn't put anything else together for the rest of the game. They scored 3 points after the first quarter. So, the Lions chipped away, and everybody knows when we talk about the Lions, I always make note that the Lions are a comeback team. I call them the comeback kids of Detroit. This one didn't have to be dramatic because they took the lead, pretty early in the second half and made and blew the game out basically. But I didn't feel any threat to the Detroit Lions when the Chicago Bears took that early lead. And that's a shame because the Bears are on paper a really high-powered offense, and I just don't understand how they can't get it going consistently every week. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. Like, I agree. Like when you watch the Bears play, like they put no scariness. Like, they just play soft. They're like not the Bears. And I know it sounds crazy, right? But when you grow up watching the Bears, you think one thing, and that team is like anti what Chicago Bears stood for, with the tough defense, like blue collar team, run the ball down your throat, offensive line smashes you. Like, these guys are 5 wide. The defense is soft. Like, it's just like Bears football is. Like, at least what we believe Bears football to be. Yeah, man. Watching the Lions offense, man, at times I just don't understand why they don't put up 50 points a game. Because Calvin Johnson, let me tell you, man, when he's healthy and he lines up, he changes the dynamic of the entire. Even their run game is a lot better when he's out there. It's just crazy. And Shady
he's
is
not
out
right,
there
all right.
dribbling.
Oh, Shady.
Shady is
He's not
out
right,
here
all right.
throwing
I
his
think he was
handle.
down. I hope he was down.
I hope he was down. Shady's sitting there like, he looked like hot sauce on that play from N1 right now. What is Shady doing?
Shady trying to show off his white chocolates. Well, let's talk about that. Since let's do a live look in on the game right now with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Eagles lead. He's down. The Eagles lead the Dallas Cowboys 30-10. This is always the case with these Eagles Cowboys matchups, especially when there's something big on the line. Usually it's that last game of the season where somebody has to get into the playoffs. The game gets so hyped up and both sides are talking trash. The fans are talking trash. And usually the Eagles end up smacking the Cowboys in the mouth. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an Eagles fan. I'm just calling it like it usually happens. I mean, they did that one year when they beat the Eagles in the final game of the season and then took care of them next week in the playoffs for their only playoff win since their Super Bowl runs. But besides that, they get into these situations and you get games like the time when the Eagles put up 44 on them. Today they got 30 and they're driving right now. So, like, do these games get overhyped or, do you have to do it this way? It's the NFC East. They're old rivals, both 8-3, trying to play for the division. And from an Eagles fan perspective, it's a great game. But if you're a neutral party and you were just looking forward to a hard-fought rivalry game, it's like, this is what you signed? This is all the hype was for all week? Like, how do you feel about it, Jim, watching this? Besides from a fantasy aspect. Like, do you feel cheated?
Yeah. I mean, somewhat, because it's supposed to be like the best game, like, out of these games during this Thanksgiving. I mean, we'll see what happens later tonight, but I definitely do feel cheated. I want to see the Cowboys looked in the beginning like they were going to show up a little bit. I mean, the Eagles got up quick, then they came down and Murray got that touchdown, and I was like, okay, we got a game here. It's going to be back and forth. And this entire season, I can't put my finger on it. It's like every team from week to week looks like great to terrible. Right. There's not one team, and this includes my beloved Denver Broncos, who are consistently good. Like, I just don't understand. This season is unlike any I've ever seen. Like, if you think about the entire league, right? Like, the Cowboys at one point, remember in the beginning of the season, Everybody was
They're
like,
supposed
man,
to
the
be the
Cowboys.
worst ever.
Yo, then it's like, now you look at them, and it's just like, what team? Even the Patriots right now may be one of the hottest teams, but at one
Tried to
point we were
write them
talking about
off 5 weeks ago.
writing Tom Brady off. It's time for him to retire. We put him in the old folks' home. So it's like, you know, what team would you say right now is the scariest team in the league? Nobody, like, you know, I've never seen a season like this.
Yeah, I say right now because of the teams, and we're going to get to this game in a minute because it's probably the game of the week. The two teams that look the scariest right now are the Packers and the Patriots. But like Jimmy said, 5-6 weeks ago, Aaron Rodgers had to tell his fans to relax. Tom Brady had to, just ignore their fans and go out and do what they had to do. We were writing everybody off. But going back to this game here, first of all, the Eagles are looking pretty consistent on offense, basically between the 20 and the 20. As usual, they're very inconsistent in the red zone. Even today, it's like they move the ball really well, and then they get down to the 20-yard line, and they become allergic to the goal line. They're in the red zone again as we speak, so we'll see if they can break this trend. But the fact that the defense is playing pretty well, and they're playing pretty well against that vaunted Cowboys offensive line, it makes it easier for the offense and Cody Parkey to kick 95 field goals in a game because they're stopping the other team. So as he piles on the numbers, they're stopping the other team. Now, if the Cowboys were scoring at the same time, they would have been in some trouble because, you get down, you don't get that many opportunities at the red zone, so you can't keep blowing them. So here's a third.
MVP this season is Cody Parkey.
yeah. And he wasn't even supposed to be on the team until like a day before the season started.
We got a comment on Twitter, shot to @KCMac38, who says he's very disappointed by Dallas. He can't understand why they can't win at home, and he thinks that Philly looks impressive.
Yeah, we do until we meet up against like Green Bay or somebody again and get our boots snatched from us. This game, even as an Eagles fan, it surprises me a little bit that it's going this way, but history states in these quote unquote big games between these two teams, or recent history, this is pretty much how it goes. Week 12 had some interesting things happen. Well, 12 going into 13. But before that, I want to talk about the catch. And you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the catch. And no, I'm not talking about the 49ers back in the day. Talking about Odell Beckham on Monday night. Was that Sunday night? Sunday Night Football?
That was Sunday night.
Where does that rank to you? First of all, I wish B. Austin was here to defend himself because he knows I'm going to clown him about our conversation where he's trying to be all nonchalant about it, talking about that was a top 20 to 25 catch he's ever seen in his life. I don't know where he's watching football every week, but he needs to take me with him if they're making catches like this.
That was hilarious. Listen, we were in like a group text during the game talking about the game. And my man B. Austin says, yo, that's one of the top 25 catches ever. You like 25? Yo, give me 24
He started out by saying 10 and then got more nonchalant about it. 20 to 25. Come on.
I'm like, yo, really? The thing about it is it's hard to say it's the greatest catch because when I think of great catches, it's always like situational. It's like this is a random Sunday night. But from a pure athletic standpoint, I don't know if anything's better. But when I think of great catches, I always think of moments. Even if you want to stay with the Giants, the David Tyree catch, because of when it happened, where it happened, and how it happened, and like how it goes down in history. You know what I mean? Like I think of the immaculate reception. I think of these because I mean a lot of Eagles fans who hate the Giants anyway try to point to the Jason Avant catch where he caught it with one hand. It wasn't the same because it wasn't three fingers.
It's Tampa.
Yeah, it was against Tampa, so that was meaningless as well. But when I think of great catches, it's always like the situation makes them great.
Yo, Jim, you hit the nail right on the head because that's what I've been saying all week when I have conversations about it. I say first, let's distinguish great from best. This may have been the best catch I've ever seen in my life. Great, I think that word is reserved for the situation, like you said. Up until that point, I had always said, okay, I think the greatest catch in NFL history was the David Tyree catch. Because like you said, first of all, they weren't supposed to win the game. They weren't supposed to be in the game. They were coming back. Eli did all that stuff to escape the pocket, and he's not a mobile quarterback. He throws it deep. This dude catches it, pins it up against his helmet. He's covered like a glove by Rodney Harrison. So that's the greatness of that catch. The situation is the greatness of it. However, if you look at that catch versus the Odell Beckham catch, Odell Beckham's catch was 100% skill versus David Tyree's catch, which may have been 95% luck. So let's take great out of the equation and just go best. And like you said, Eagles fans try to hate a little bit for the Jason Avant catch because it looks similar. A lot of differences to me. First of all, it wasn't a touchdown. Second of all, it wasn't as deep as a throw as this one. Third, the dude Beckham was fighting a defender all the way down the field and was teetering the sideline at the time. Fourth, Jason Avant caught his. He the tip of the ball hit his palm, which causes, it stops the ball. It makes it easier to stop. This dude just caught the ball with his fingers. And when they showed the replay, the slow motion, it was 3 fingers at that, 2 fingers and a thumb. He never touched the end of the ball. That was crazy. And the ball went way farther behind his head than the Jason Avant catch. Jimmy, this is the best catch. I don't, we preach against it every week. I don't like to be prisoner of the moment, but I just can't think of anything else. I've seen some great catches in my lifetime, but I just can't think of anything else that took more skill than this particular catch right here. And
it's
too bad they had to lose the game while doing it, but
it's also scary considering how much better this guy can become. When you look at this crop of young receivers, it's like, I don't know. I don't know who's the best one. I mean, I guess with that catch and with that game, he may have put himself like one down. But when you look at his peers, these rookie receivers out here, the young man in Tampa, the young man in Carolina, and not to mention, the guy Sammy Watkins who's supposed to be better than all of them. And he's balling. There's some great young receivers out there. Now, granted, we live in a time where you can't defend receivers in the league, but still, these guys have tremendous skill set. Let me ask you this. And
I also gotta be fair because I've used these receiver gloves that they use these days, and it's kind of ridiculous how sticky the palm and fingers are in those. If it's not for those gloves, like that catch wouldn't even be possible. But it still took a crazy level of skill for him to throw his hand up there and come down with that deep ball like that.
I guess it's 6'1" when you look back in the day when cats literally used stickum.
Yeah,
but let me ask you a question, though. Looking at this crop of receivers, how would you rank them? Who would you take if you had your choice right now of watching a little bit more than it's a little bit more than half a season, but if you had watching this, who would you take right now and if you had to draft one of these young receivers?
Of the young ones, man, it's crazy because, like you said, there's a lot of you got Watkins, you got Beckham, you got Cooks. You even got Matthews in Philly. You got Benjamin. Man, from a skill standpoint, Beckham is the truth. I think you would have to go with Sammy Watkins at this point. Before he got injured, Cooks was actually leading the rookie receivers in receptions, but you're playing with Drew Brees, and he's just like a sprinkler. He's spraying the ball all over the place.
I didn't even mention him.
Yeah, he was balling. He wasn't doing what he was expected to do, though. He expected him to come in and be this deep threat. He was making plays all over the field for them, and he was a guy that they lined up everywhere and used in all kinds of ways, reverses, coming out of the backfield, all kinds of stuff. I would probably go Sammy Watkins right now. And the funny thing is I picked probably the biggest head case of them all, the dude who wants to throw the ball on the ground before he gets into the end zone, but he's talented. He's very talented. But the crop is talented.
The young man in Benjamin, for the young man in Carolina.
In Carolina, yeah, he's tough.
He is amazing. Like watching
because he's the guy you could just throw the ball up to. And
the ball, the one in Tampa, like. He didn't even. I don't even know how he gets open.
Mike Evans, got his name.
Mike Evans must stink or something because he don't even he's not ultra strong and athletic like these other guys, but he seems to be wide open all the time.
Yeah, see that's the thing, and even when he's not, he's just big enough to catch the ball. that's the new thing with receivers these days, because people talk about such and such, they have receivers, they can't get open. Really, the new crop of receivers, this new breed, is a bunch of cats who really don't need to be open for you to throw it to them. And that starts with, the Calvin Johnsons and Des Bryants and
that started with Anquan Bolden.
Cats. Yeah, Bolden. Yeah, Bolden's never open.
Anquan Bolden has never been open his entire career. He's never been open to this day.
Yeah, he hasn't been open since like year one in Arizona, and ever since then it's just like throw the ball. I'm gonna catch the D-back with the ball and just carry him downfield for the touchdown. That's what he does. It's crazy. But that's a good question that you asked though, because it's a crazy crop of receivers that are out there now. Getting it
you know what? I think that's another. We call it versus during the show. We're gonna put a bunch of them together and see who would they take right now.
Because we'll do that.
That's a good debate. Although I think everybody's still going to jump on. Here's my prediction on the show before we even put this picture out there. I think everybody's going to jump on one of two people, Sammy Watkins or Odell Beckham. Sammy Watkins just because of the name, and Odell Beckham because he just made his name. After that catch, everybody's going to be on the bandwagon.
And what he's been doing, because remember, he didn't, he missed a lot of time early in the season. So people are going to start to say, like, look what he's done in a limited amount of time. They're going to start to play the speculation game. Had he been out there from the start, he would be the best one, hands down. People like to say hands down. Is this really a question? No, no doubt. Oh my God, that gets on my nerves. But all right, so we would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the situation in Washington. We talked about it last week, but it wasn't this dire. Now, Robert,
before you get that, we have a question posed to you in our chat room in reference to the Eagles game. Does Nick Foles get his job right back immediately upon getting healthy?
I pretty much think he does. I think Sanchez has to do something special. Like, he looks good. He looks really good today. And this is his best game. And fans, they're going to take this because, Eagles fans give the Cowboys so much shine. They're going to take this, oh my God, he did that to the Cowboys. Like, he's our guy. But, how quickly we're going to forget, even in wins. And I'm not the nitpicky one like that, because people have been nitpicking Nick Foles like this all season. He had a 6-2 record and turned the ball over more than he did last year, and people are panicking. Sanchez, you're going to get that with him. And Sanchez made a few since he's been in, he's made a few WTF throws and moments, and he's turned the ball over. He's playing great today, but I think you need to see a little more of what's going to happen down the stretch. If he's on fire and he's just balling and they go into the playoffs with momentum, then maybe you can't just go back to the quarterback. But
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. If he continues to play well, like, do you play the hot hand, or because I guess you damn if you do, you damn if you don't. If you don't, you're like, and you end up losing. I'm like, man, you should have put him. You know what I mean? Like, so there's no.
But at the same time, Jim, a lot of people, experts included, quote unquote experts, like, I'm not putting Chip Kelly on my money yet. He's not going on my dollars, but in Chip, people trust. And you heard it even last week when we were talking to Peter King. Peter King said, I don't think people in Philly need to be worrying about who the quarterback is, because whoever's in there, Chip Kelly's going to coach him up in the system and this and that. So it might not matter. Sanchez might not look like this anywhere else.
Loves Chip Kelly. I've never seen anything like it. They love him.
I was surprised to hear Peter King say that when we talked to him last week. I'm like, okay, he's another.
Like, he's talking about Bill Walsh, though.
And Chip, we trust. So if they're right, I'll put it that way, because like I said, I'm not putting them on my money yet. But if they're right, then it probably doesn't matter which one of these guys go in. And you still have to figure out if you're going to pay Nick Foles. So the playoffs might be where he makes his money, or where he doesn't make his money. So we'll see. Okay. I think Sanchez looks good, but I'm not fawning all over him as if he didn't make some scary mistakes in the prior game, saying, if the Eagles weren't clicking on all cylinders, they could have been in some serious trouble in those other games. But, special teams is balling. The defense, I wouldn't call them balling, but, they're getting turnovers. They're getting pressure on quarterbacks. So they're doing their part. So, I don't know how to answer that question 100%, but at this point I would say yes, but we do have some more games to play. And if he just lights it up, then that'll answer your question for you. But
No doubt.
RG3,
Let's
speaking of
move on to
another
DC.
quarterback,
How about
yeah,
DC?
RG3 was benched. Colt McCoy is going to start Sunday's game against the Indianapolis Colts. Do you think they're handling this the right way? I mean, we talk about it all the time from, all different angles, but do you think benching RG3 is the right thing to do at this point?
I don't even know, man. Like, because leading up to the game, there was so much talk back and forth in the media. So the whole thing seems to be handled incorrectly from the get-go. I mean, we all speculate that he's not the coach's guy. We all speculate that he won't be there. But this whole thing is becoming a mess. I don't know what they do moving forward. I mean, I've even heard rumors that Chip Kelly can save his career. Who knows? But I just this whole thing seems to be handled incorrectly because it's the biggest story going on. Yeah, it's the biggest story going on with that franchise, and it's like they this is what they were dealing with, which is why he was supposed to come and say he was the savior, and now he's a false prophet.
Yeah, they keep saying, okay, Colt just gives us a better chance to win this week. It's not set in stone or what I'm going to do after that. Robert Still will play a significant role in the future of this franchise. Now, you think on one hand, okay, they're saying that, just to keep his trade value up a little bit. But I think the way he's played and the stuff that they've said about him publicly, I think that all but destroys his trade value. Well, I'm thinking the best you can even hope to get for him now is a late pick. And if you don't get a late round pick, then you're going to end up putting this guy on waivers and seeing where he floats to after that. But I'm thinking, I'd always thought it was a sink or swim for him when he came back. Maybe get the rest of the season to prove what he is so they'll know for sure. I'm thinking at 3-8 and you sit him down, like there's really nothing to play for. So I think you let him play because he'd be the only, not the only, I'm sure there's other people playing for jobs on this team, but the main one that we know of, he'd be the only person there playing for his future. So I think you have to give him that opportunity just so you'll be sure yourself, because they have a big decision to make. But my estimation is if they're benching him now with all of these games left, I think the decision has been made. And, for them to, I guess they can't trot him out there anymore in hopes of getting trade attention, because the more you put him out there, the worse you're going to be in the trade market. So I guess that's the case there. But it's puzzling to me that they're not going to let him finish out the season because they really have nothing to play for at this point.
This is true. Yo, shout out to the Cowboys who just got like an 8-yard forward progress. How the hell they spot the ball there?
He should be at the goal line.
Yeah. I'm laughing at Monica. Did you see that they showed Nick Foles as soon as he got that question? They showed him on the sideline.
They listening to the show.
He over there looking like Matt Saracen. Yo, he definitely looked like Matt Saracen though. But this whole thing in DC is atrocious, man. Like either you like, I would just put him out there and just let him fail. Like so, then when you do get rid of him,
Yeah, I told you. I put him out there. If you don't want him, Jim, it's like put him out there and give him the hardest, most complicated game plans you can give him for the rest of the season, and just let him fail miserably. So nobody will be on your back. Nobody can be calling, "Oh, they did RG3 unfair." Like, let him go out there and bury himself if that's what you think. Because
to him, it's like, yo, when I watch him speak, it's like I don't even know if he. I don't want to say he's an understanding. He's not a dumb guy, but he still talks as if he's like the Heisman Trophy. Like he talks like he's a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah,
I guess you want that kind of like arrogance or belief from your quarterback. But
not when you're playing like a negative. Not when you're playing like a negative 5 quarterback.
You ain't watching the game film? I'm starting to wonder, is he the next Ryan Leaf? I mean, both were number 2. It was argued during the draft that
he just had a spark when he started, but now he's just garbage.
Yo, and Andrew Luck is looking like the next Peyton, and he's looking like the next Ryan Leaf.
This is the last thing I'm gonna say on it though, because you keep hearing fans talk about, well, DC is mismanaging him because they're trying to turn him into a running quarterback. This is the biggest misconception. Like, and I'm not going to blame fans because this is not always national news. But since I do live in the Washington D.C. area and basically cover that team, there's there's certain things that's known down here, whether people are in denial about it or not, but it's not the franchise who's trying to change his stripes. It was Robert Griffin, RG3 and RG2, his daddy, who went to the media saying, okay, his dad said, I don't want to teach. This is when Shanahan was here. I don't want to tell Shanahan how to do his job. But if you tell a kid that you want him to be here for 14 years, but you're calling all these design runs and read option and rollouts and all that kind of stuff, you know, his health is going to be in jeopardy every year. You know, I'm paraphrasing at this point. And Robert Griffin III, when he was asked, basically said, you know, my dad is my coach. He's been my coach all my life. So he knows what he's talking about. He's just not saying I can throw just because I'm his son, but I made my name as a passer at Baylor. These are the things he said. He's quoted as saying this in a GQ article and another article that I just pulled up for some fans saying this the other day. It's not the organization. He doesn't want to be a running quarterback. He thinks because he lit it up at Baylor with 4,000 yards and like 37 touchdowns in his final year, he thinks that he's an NFL top-tier passer, and he doesn't need all the run gimmicks and everything like that. So, you know, when people go out there repeating this rhetoric and talking about how Washington mismanaged, I'm the last person to compliment Washington's franchise on anything because they do botch everything that they do. But in this case, it just simply wasn't the case. Like, they don't want him, and they means his entourage, his father. They don't want him to be a running quarterback. So for everybody out there saying, bring him to Philly because in Chip's system, he can be good because the read option would thrive. He doesn't want to run the read option. So he doesn't want to be your quarterback in Philadelphia if Chip is going to make him do things that he would make an Oregon quarterback do. And the Eagles are 9-3 right now. So let's stop calling for other quarterbacks in the first place. We got Nick Foles. We got a good backup in Sanchez. Let's stop calling for quarterbacks from bum teams to come run our good team. That makes no sense to me. And I'm off my soapbox. I'm done with my rant. Before we move on, let's go to the line because the homie Rob is calling back in from out in Cali. And I know he's happy right now because of them Eagles. What's going on, Rob?
Yo, man, hey, what's up, man? Yo, I need your help, man. I need your help. Y'all call, I need, the police. I need the FBI. I need the CEA. Let's see, I need the CIA. I need DA because you are killing the Cowboys. I'm watching a murder right now. I'm watching a murder.
You need a murder investigation to get started?
Yo, man, we need CSI up in this bad boy, man. Somebody verifying the Cowboys' heart, dude. Shoot.
Yo, I was telling Jimmy earlier, it seems to always play out this way when the Eagles and Cowboys have a big game where they're actually playing for something. And this game doesn't mean, that it's over. You know what I'm saying? We still got some more games to play. We play them again in 2 weeks. But when it's a big game and it's all hyped up, it seems to always end up happening this way. Eagles get a blowout victory over the Cowboys, and their fans go in hiding for the next. Usually, it's the next off season because it's usually the last game of the season. But they'll be in hiding for the next 7 days before they play the Bears. So, what do you think? Like, how did it happen? Because the offense is still stalling in the red zone. Cody Parkey is banging them through.
That's an issue. I think because if you look, because I've been doing a little bit, I know you probably know more than me, but I'm doing a little bit of research. You do, this is your job. But I think it's just more mental than anything. It's more mental. Because if you look at the practices, they do practices for the mental stuff too. Right. Also the physical preparation and stuff. It's just the mental. Too, man, if you're from Philly, man, you gotta embrace to be an Eagle. You can't just come here. That's why it couldn't work out with T.O. That's why it couldn't work out with Deshaun Jackson. Gas out of here. You need to have. Hey, I love the dude. Love him since high school. Long Beach Poly, go Jack Rabbits. But you gotta be an Eagle. It's just like on the West Coast. It's just like being a Raider. Either you're a Raider, or if you're not, just get out of here. That's why they let John Gruden go.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's one of those things, man. The Cowboys, like, they didn't come to play today. Like, and the Eagles came to play. It's like I was telling them earlier, from week to week, man, you never know what you're going to get out of any of these teams, man. It's like the whole NFL is inconsistent this year. You know, even the good teams have weeks where you're like, yo, how are they that good? It's like me and Dev was talking last week watching Niners play, and Dev was like, how did the Niners beat the Eagles? Because week to week, certain teams just look like, you know, but we'll see what happens. These two teams got to play again in a couple weeks.
Yeah, this is our, like, because I got a couple more things. This is like we control our own destiny. Hopefully Chip Kelly will motivate these guys enough to, when we play the Seahawks, and I got a personal issue with Richard Sherman calling our Eagles organization racist. When your boy goes to a team called the Redskins, you're going to call our organization racist. You know, they try to, you know, I got issue with that. You know, I got issue with his big mouth. You know, I ain't going to say anything more. I'm going to say it for the internet. You know, but yeah, we get to our own destiny. Also got something about what I said yesterday about the RG3 thing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, and I'm gonna hit just a little bit because I'll go something else. I think for some black quarterbacks, it's like people try to marginalize them and on what they can do and say, okay, you gotta be a pocket. We want you to stay in the pocket, be a pocket quarterback, or instead of a down, when they have to run, or they can run and get the first down, they're gonna stay along in the pocket and take it. I mean, not everybody's gonna be like a Michael Vick. You know, Michael Vick when he was with the Falcons was like, you know, 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. When the 3 second and a half came, he just took off. You know what I'm saying? Some people like some quarterbacks, they have to have a coach that just let them be who they are. Like, you know, like Andy Reid with McNabb. He let him be who he was, even though he didn't have a lot of weapons. He let him be who he was. And
But you know what, though, Rob? The thing is, RG, like Dev said, RG3 is the one that wanted to be a pocket pass. He doesn't want to run. It's not the coaches.
He doesn't want to be what he is. He thinks he's something else.
He doesn't want to be what he is.
He has an ego. He has an ego. That's it. That's all I gotta say about that. He got an ego, and you know it always catches up with you. And you know what I'm saying. And but before I get to that, and that's let you know, Eagle fans who want to trash on McNabb, this lets you know what happens when you invest in a receiver. Throughout whole McNabb's career, we only drafted one receiver in the first round, and that was Freddie Mitchell. And he was all right, but he wasn't the great. Jerry Macklin's great. McNabb had these weapons. We went to 5 Super Bowls. And yeah, quote me on that.
I mean, you can say that all you want to, but I mean, how many great receivers have won a Super Bowl? Tom Brady.
But he played with Macklin. He played with Macklin and Jackson.
He played in his latter years when Andy Reid. Wait. In his latter years when Andy Reid was doing stupid stuff like
hold on. Wait.
Defensive coordinator.
Okay, before you make him Old Man River, his contemporaries, Breeze, who's younger than him, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, all of those dudes are still playing.
They have weapons. They have weapons.
A lot of them dudes make weapons. Marcus Colston is a seventh round pick.
They took the time and invest in those weapons.
Listen. His best receiver throughout the last.
They had a quarterback playing wide receiver. He didn't have to weapons.
I'm not trying to hear that, man. Let's not get into this. This is not on the docket, man.
Okay.
But listen to this. Drew Brees' best receiver over the past 5 to 7 years was a 7th round receiver. When your quarterback is nice, it makes you look better. All you got to do is catch the ball. I don't want to keep hearing these excuses way after this dude's career is over. Yo, he's 37, 38 years old and has been out of the NFL for like 3 or 4 years. That should tell me something.
It's the reason he can't get a run nowhere.
Yeah,
he got sent away from the Vikings. He got sent away from the Redskins. Everybody he came in with, they're still playing.
They were cesspools. Okay. Let's go to the next discussion. I want to discuss real quick. What was I going to say? I was going to say the whole Ferguson thing.
Yeah.
You know, rioting. Martin Luther King said it best: a riot is a language of the unheard, and to a certain extent, I can feel people's upset and people's anger and frustration. I don't know, you know, I'm from LA, and you know, I remember my mentor. He said it best when the Christopher Don thing happened. You know, he was not in California in general. You know, it was just like a Batman signal for larger black men to to like make a T-shirt saying I'm not Christopher Dorner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And so and sometimes racism makes people go crazy. I mean, look at guys like John Brown. Hello.
Yeah. No doubt, man.
Look at guys like Nat Turner. When you could take it when so much comes at you, like when you're getting the psychology of a person being oppressed, it just goes, you know, the psyche, you just go crazy. Like LA riots.
I mean, it's always something that triggers off the stuff. It's just a better way to handle the stuff. But Rob, we gotta go, man, because we still gotta talk a little bit of hoops. But thanks for your call, man. Happy Thanksgiving and go Birds, man. Go Birds.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right. So yeah. The whole RG3 thing is crazy. Mike Vick got benched this week as well. They just got a serious problem down there because, you know, you bench Smith and you go to Vick and then you bench him. So they're just going back and forth, musical chairs with that. Might be over for Mike Vick. Games of the week real quick, man. Let's just do some picks and then we talk about a little bit of basketball going out of here. The late game today while I'm eating my dessert because, Jim, you know, my in-laws from VA and now VA has Bluebell ice cream. I used to only get that when I was in Texas. So, you know, I got 2 half gallons of Bluebell. So it's about to be real ignorant.
I peeped the picture. I peeped your picture on Facebook.
Yeah, so, you know, once this is over, and I haven't eaten sweets in months. So when this is over, it's pies and ice cream. I might gain everything I lost right back in one night. But
that's how you do it.
Turkey Day late night game. Seahawks at Niners. You didn't get the you run on the broadcast with us this week for Field Vision, so we didn't get your pick. So who you got, Seahawks or Niners tonight?
Man, this is a tough one.
Very.
Because the Niners are trying to fight back. I mean, the Seahawks, you know, they're hot or cold. But I'm gonna go with the home team because a lot of times when I can't make a pick, I just go right with the home team.
I'm going with the home team as well. Interception. I'm going with the home team as well. Did he step up or did he get it? He got it. All right. And this was another week, you know, I was on Tony Romo defense, and now look at him. I'm gonna go with the home team as well. I think the Niners, you know, both of these teams are pretty desperate at the moment because the NFC wildcard race is so crazy. Somebody has to pounce because the Cardinals might end up dropping a few. So somebody in this division has to pounce. I think the 49ers, even though they've had some offensive problems over the last few weeks, Eli Manning gave them 5 interceptions and they can only score 16 points. They didn't smash the Redskins like they should have smashed the Redskins, but I think they get it done tonight. I'm going to go Niners as well. Browns at Bills, and the Bills will host this game in their stadium, even though it has a little bit of damage from the snowstorms. Who you got, Browns at Bills?
I'm rolling with the home team again, man. It's all about Kyle Orton. And I say that jokingly because we clowned him when they gave that boy all that money. But the fact of the matter is the team hasn't playing better with him at the helm. So I'm rolling with Kyle Orton and the Bills.
Yo, I'm rolling with them as well. And Kyle Orton, since he's been in, I believe 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, like high 60s in his completion percentage. Kyle Orton has really played well. He's played well. I mean, he's not the only reason they're doing well, but and the Browns, or you know, they're good all around because you know they made a comeback win last week when Brian Hoyer basically played like feces. But he had a nice little last-minute drive to get them the win. So everything he did, the 3 interceptions prior to that, they all got erased because, you know, fans only care about that one drive. Chargers at Ravens. This is another tough one because, you know, the Ravens division. Everybody in the division has 7 wins. Chargers are going into Baltimore. Who you got?
Yeah, this is a tough game. I'm going to stick with my theme right now and take the home team with the Ravens. They play in arguably the toughest division in football. Either that or the NFC West. I don't know which one you consider the best division, but and the Chargers, another team. Like at one point we were like, man, the Chargers on their way, and now inconsistent, man. So I'm sticking with the Ravens.
All right, so we're 3 for 3 because I'm going with the Ravens as well. The Ravens look really tough, man. We talked about this on Field Vision the other night, And we were talking about who might win the division, and nobody even mentioned the Ravens. And then Frank reminded me of them, and I'm like, wow, they might actually be the toughest team in the division.
Yeah,
Flying under the radar, and I think the
picked them to win the
Ravens are
division
real tough.
this season.
Yeah.
And after a couple of weeks, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have, but I did pick them to win the division. But that's a tough division, man. Like, but again, this is one of them things where at the beginning of the season, everybody thought the Bengals were going to run away with it, and as this season progresses, man, you never know.
How about Forsett and the work he's doing in Ray Rice's stead? He's balling. And he wasn't he wasn't even next man up when Ray left. It was Pierce. And then Pierce got hurt.
The boy Pierce Temple, who got hurt.
He never gave it up.
Then they started putting Taliaferro in, but they finally realized that Forsett, he's playing balling.
No doubt. So let's go to the game of the week: Patriots at Packers. And it's difficult to believe, but this is the first ever head-to-head matchup between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. What do you think about this one? Home team theme?
Stick with I'm rolling with the home team at Lambeau. It's tough to play at Lambeau. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers, who I personally believe to be the best quarterback in football, and that's coming from me as a Broncos fan. I think Aaron Rodgers is that guy. His weapons and him are they're in sync right now. With Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb, and Jordy Nelson, who succeeds because of racism. People don't think he's that fast. He's a white guy, and he runs by everybody. Either that or he's really Puerto Rican, and we just don't know. But the Packers are balling right now. They're getting their run game together. So, and the Patriots are probably the hottest team, probably the hottest team in the league. These are the two best teams right now. But I'm rolling with the home team.
Home team theme. I'm right there with you. Lambeau is going to be difficult. I don't think, of course, it's not out of the question that Tom Brady and the boys can go in there and get a win the way they've been playing. They've won there in his only appearance in Lambeau, 35-0. It damn sure won't be that even if they win. I think Aaron Rodgers, these guys, mumbles the word, but I think Aaron Rodgers will take this game. He'll take a lot of pride in this game. Not that he doesn't every week, but this is his first matchup against Tom Brady, and he is welcoming into his house. I think, Aaron Rodgers is going to try to go off on these dudes this week. Home team theme. So last one, we got your Broncos visiting the Chiefs, and this is where I stop my home team theme because I think your Broncos are going to go in there, take care of business. What about you?
Now listen, this is the first time this entire season that I'm actually going to pick against my team. We've been playing very consistent as of late, along with everybody else, and the Chiefs they seem to have gotten it together. And the reason I'm picking the Chiefs this game, they're going to be on an emotional high. They're going to have Barry there to talk to the team before they go out there, and I think they're going to beat us. I think it'll be a close game. I'm hoping I'm wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I think the Chiefs will take it. Because first of all, Arrowhead is the toughest place. Even when the Chiefs stunk, it was difficult to play there.
Loud as hell.
The way I see us winning this game, only way I see us winning this game is if we come out and just jump on them early. If we jump on them early, I think we can win the game. But I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Yo, the Eagles handing the ball off to Josh Huff, straight up handoff.
I was about to ask, is that Isaiah Thomas playing running back right now?
And he got yardage. Yo, whose offensive line looked better? All we heard about was that Dallas offensive line. Whose offensive line played like ballers today?
I thought that was Zeke out there. That got Isaiah Thomas playing running back.
I know, right? All right, so let's talk a little bit of basketball before we go in this last 10 minutes of our Turkey Day Spectacular. Let them know, Jeff.
Yeah, man, it's time to talk a little bit of hoops, man. In the NBA, is brought to you by Fanatics. Shopping Fanatics is easy. Go to warroomsports.com, click on that Fanatics logo, and get you some gear. NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, and even if you want to support the NCAA, even though the students don't get any of that money, you can buy your NCAA gear there as well. Go to warroomsports.com and click on that Fanatics logo. It's time to talk a little bit of basketball.
Know that.
Uh-huh. The players of the week this past week were Lou Williams as well as DeMarcus Cousins. What are the stats like this week, Dale?
Yeah, man, sweet Lou Pauls is still getting it in like that. All right, Lou and the Toronto Raptors went 3-0 this week. He averaged 23.7 points per game with 2 steals. He had a career high 36 points against Cleveland on November 22nd. So, you know, when you do something against Cleveland, it's going to get magnified because everybody's watching. And that was a matchup between two teams that are supposed to be at the top of the conference. So shout out to Lou Williams, DeMarcus Boogie Cousins, led the Kings to a 2-1 week. He averaged 16.3 rebounds this week, 25.7 points, which was second in the league, and he shot 57% from the field. He had 5 blocks for the whole week, but he had a 31-18 game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So shout out to Boogie Cousins and Sweet Lou for their NBA Player of the Week nods.
Yo, shout out to Boogie Cousins, because at times it looks like when he wants to, he can be like damn near the best player in this league. He has what I call scary potential. And shout out to Charles Barkley for going on TV and basically saying, "Yo, boy can't beat me." Because
I know. He said he can't whoop my ass. They
when Barkley was talking about, like, you know, him and Cousins and a little beef, he was like, well, you know, all that, boy can't whip my ass, like, you know, we can always go there, like damn, Chuck.
He's saying that from his suit and tie, sitting at his desk and he's announcing.
Like, yo, well, I mean, at the end of the day, we can't beat me, so like, I'm like, damn.
You know, all this talking we doing, he can't beat me, so let's just move on.
But yeah, he definitely has scary potential. Kind of reminds me of Derek Coleman, because in my opinion, Derek Coleman has scary potential. And this is another guy that Charles Barkley used to ride, because Barkley also thought the same thing I thought. Like, this dude had the potential to be the greatest power forward ever, but, you know, due to laziness and not wanting to put the work in. And Cousins is from that same mold. Like, yo, you see the potential there, and it's kind of scary. It's just that potential is one thing and work ethic is another. If you don't put the work in to, you know, fulfill that, then you'll just be potential. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It'd just be Scary Cousins. What he beat Derek Coleman.
Yeah, that's his new name. He ain't Boogie Cousins. He's Scary Cousins, because when he wants to play, boys. Yeah, but anyway, next story real quick. I want to know what you think about this. Adam Silver would like to see the 20-year-old age minimum in the NBA. So that means you wouldn't be able to get into the league until you're at least a dub. What do you think about this?
Situation, you know, something that we've been talking about for a while. Actually, you know, he made these same comments back in like April, but I guess, you know, it took his interview with GQ magazine for it to pop back up. His comments from the magazine, he said, the union's principal argument is that it's a restriction on players. And as a philosophical argument, I totally understand that. Of course, it's a restriction in the same way a draft is a restriction. But our view is that it would make for a better league. You'd have more skilled players, more mature players. The draft would be better. Would be better for basketball in general. Strong college basketball is great for the NBA, and we know those players are eventually going to come to the NBA, whether they're 19, 20, or 21. I think I agree with him wholeheartedly because, I mean, even though he wants this restriction, he acknowledges that there are two philosophical differences in the way you can look at this. And when we've had these discussions, I looked at it the same way. From a standpoint of a man, yeah, you know, you're 18 years old, 19 years old. You should be able to, you know, go make a living for yourself if, you know, you see fit and you're good enough to do so. But coming from a basketball purist and a fan standpoint, even somebody that has to talk about this league, because we love this thing of ours, but we even admit ourselves, Jim, sometimes the NBA is a little difficult to watch, especially when the stakes aren't really high. And we'd never felt that way before, you know, this current generation. Like, we could watch Milwaukee versus Orlando on any given night and be mesmerized by what we saw. The level of the level of skill in the game, I think, is down. Of course, players are bigger, faster, stronger. So you're always going to have the level of athleticism ratcheting up a notch. But the skill level at times, you know, it makes the NBA game a little bit difficult to watch. So I agree with him from that standpoint. But
I think there's so many reasons
has
for
to be
it.
better. This is what they're going to do. The D League has to step up.
I think a lot of that has to do with coaching, because I don't think coaching and fundamentals are taught the same way anymore, because people rely strictly on athleticism. And I mean, the entire league from top to bottom has been. I mean, AAU is taking over basketball because basically, professional basketball is professional AAU basketball at this point. That's what it is. It's not the same. But the thing about this rule that bothers me is because now you have guys. You're going to force guys to go to college. I mean, what if a guy that generally doesn't want to be in college? Doesn't because people look at this like, well, let's keep him in college. Like, yo, you just can't just play ball. Like, you have to go to class and have other obligations being in college. Like, what if you just generally are not a student and you don't want to be in college? You know, but you're a tremendous athlete. I mean, there's guys like, you know, LeBron. Like, what would have suited LeBron to be in school too? What would that have done for him? Nothing at all, for real. But I do get the point because the one thing about having strong college basketball is, you know, you follow a guy and he has a certain brand when he comes into the league, so you know the players. Now when you watch the draft, past like the first 5 picks, you don't know any of these guys anyway. You know what I mean? Because you don't have the great college rivalries. You don't have these great college players who you watch for a couple of years and you get to, like, you know, watch them in their brand in college and have that come over to the league. So that's gone. You know, but at the same time, every time we get into this discussion, I always talk about what my answer is to build up and have a truly successful minor league. Invest money into the minor league.
That's what I said. D-League got to step up, yo.
Yeah, the whole thing of forcing someone to go to school is kind of crazy to me. Like, because, you know, some guys don't want to go to school. Like, you say, look, I'm gonna play college ball, but I ain't going to class. I mean, not that all of them go to class anyway. Shout out to North Carolina, but I'm just saying, you know, that whole aspect is crazy, man. So, you know, we probably can get a little bit more of that later on. But the question I want to ask you before we get out of here is, watching the Thunder play. I mean, the team has been given a lot of effort, but the fact of the matter is they're shorthanded without their 2 best players. Right. With the 4-12 start, do you think they can still make the playoffs?
Man, that's one of those questions where it's a tale of conference. If they were in the Eastern Conference, I wouldn't be nervous for them at all. But they're not in the Eastern Conference. They're in the Western Conference, and they could be in some trouble. Russell Westbrook is supposed to, he might make his day, you know, he might come back on Friday. So that'll be some much needed help. But they've dug themselves in a hole in a conference that's just unforgiving. And I don't know, Jim, because, you know, when it first happened, when both of them went out, I went on record saying, yo, this could be great for them if the team, but that was depending on whether or not the team could keep them hovering around 500. They haven't. You know, they just won a game last night. They could have been 3-13 at this point, but they're 4-12 now. I don't know, man. This is a big hole to dig yourself in the Western Conference. And let me know your thoughts while you're doing that. I'm going to look up the standings and tell you exactly why I'm nervous for them.
That's what makes sports so crazy, yo. And shout out to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for being 2-9 and only 2 games out of first place. Because that right there, it shows you, like, you know, what division and what conference you're in plays an actual part.
And Jim, it's funny that you bring that up because if they were in the Eastern Conference, they'd be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now.
Pretty much. Yo, it's something I found funny when you talk about them missing those 2 players. I was listening to Bomani Jones in the interview the other day, and he said that people kill him for this because everybody admits LeBron's the best player in the league. Like, LeBron and Durant are the 2 best, and no one will really argue with that. But he said in his opinion, he thinks that Russell Westbrook may be the 3rd best player in the entire NBA.
Word.
I haven't really put that much thought into it, so I don't know whether I agree or not. But when you think about that, assuming that's correct, these and you talk about what they're missing, like, that's difficult to come back from. You're missing, like, not only your 2 best players, but arguably 2 of the top 3 or 5 players in the entire league.
Yeah, you can go 2 of the top 3, 5, or 10. He's in there somewhere. Like, I wouldn't think Bomani was absolutely crazy. I probably wouldn't agree, but he's not crazy for saying that.
Yeah. So, you know, but that means, so we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see them try to make the run because you know they're going to make a run.
Yeah. Well, before we go, let me tell you, like, currently Brooklyn is sitting in the 8th spot in the East, and they're 6-8. The Phoenix Suns are the Phoenix Suns are currently sitting in the 8th spot in the West, and they're 10-6. So that tells you something. Like, Oklahoma has some heavy shoveling, some heavy sledding to do.
Oh my God. So that's crazy.
If I had to answer though, I'd probably say no, because they still got to come back. They're going to be, you know, coming back from injury. They still got to work themselves in and get acclimated. So I'm going to go ahead and say no, but I hope they make it because they'll be the most dangerous 8 seed we've ever seen. Let's be out.
I just want to see the run. It's time to get out of here, but I definitely want to see them go on a run, just to see some exciting basketball. Anyway, thanks for joining us for another Thanksgiving Day in the War Room, good people. Shout out to everybody in the chat room, those on Facebook, Twitter, the calls we chimed in we got to. We appreciate it. Those we didn't get to, we apologize. Special thanks to Fred Perdue of collegefootballextra.com for joining us to talk football. Tune in next week, same time, same place, live right here or on demand on the WRS Podcast Network. We'll recap NFL Week 13 and preview Week 14. So until then, enjoy the rest of your turkey day. Don't go into a food coma like the homie Fred Perdue. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you right back here next time. Catch our conversations Facebook and Twitter at War Room Sports, our videos, warroomsportstv.com, and all of our network shows on WRSTN.com. Until next time, everybody, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance, and we'll see you chumps on top.
6 to 8. Yeah. War Room Sports. Y'all ready?
Jim.
Let's go. Stay in tune to Jimmy. Know the blueprint. Every Thursday, 6 to 8, they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Doc Bay on replay. WarRoomSports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Yeah. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like Magic in the box course. Listen live, push one to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip-hop scholars, pit stop and knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us. War Room Sports. Yeah, you know, Jimmy, Dad, DJ, Shot Bay, B. Austin. I'm Jock. Up and coming on the beat.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.